Of all the things I've watched this month, of the movies, TV shows, and YouTube videos, the one that surprised me the most is the Minecraft YouTube video, 1000 Players Simulate Civilization Rich and Poor. It's not the most moving or impressively crafted work, but I can't stop thinking about it because it is proof to me that filmmaking is not only being done in Hollywood, it is also being done on YouTube, and it is being done in the format of a virtual world. Now, if you had shown me the thumbnail to this video, I would have assumed it was slop. We as a society spend a lot of time watching what we describe as slop. Slop before AI was used to describe low effort and generally valueless content, like TikToks and silly YouTube videos. Now it has taken on a new meaning with the flood of AI videos and images. When I refer to slop content, I am generally speaking about videos I view as valueless, not necessarily low quality. I define the word because in speech or writing we make the distinction between the slop and art. The enigma of slop content is that we claim it is valueless, yet spend so much time watching it. The video content we value in discussion, in general, is film and television, with maybe a small caveat for high-quality video essays. But in practice, I bet the average person, even the ones who claim to dislike slop content, like myself, spend a great deal of time watching it. So to then turn around and say that what I spend so much time watching is valueless feels disingenuous. If I do not find value in it, why do I not just watch something I do find valuable? Obviously, the key player in this is the attention economy that YouTube is driven by. It's not necessarily that I choose to watch this content over other stuff, it is that they have built algorithms to get me hooked on the dopamine hit of one more video and regular uploads. Opening YouTube is often less of a decision and more of an impulse. I don't think that instantly discredits all of the works on this platform. With more introspection, I find that I do genuinely enjoy a lot of YouTube. Not just that it holds my attention, but that it provides something that I can connect to or learn from. There are YouTube videos that I find value in. When I speak about value, I'm speaking about the experience a work gives me. Experiences are multifaceted, but primarily art is an emotional experience. Happiness, sadness, anger, and boredom are all common emotions elicited by art. But there is also our intellectual experience, which is our understanding, or our seeking of understanding of a work, thematically or culturally. What experiences we value in art varies from person to person. I think most criticism is about explaining why we do or do not find an experience valuable. This is not a video to claim that 1000 Players Simulate Civilization Rich and Poor has intrinsic value, but has value to me as a viewer, and therefore I think others should consider its value as well. But why do I consider 1000 Players Simulate Civilization Rich and Poor a work of art over a work of content? I don't believe all video to be art. My local news channel is not art, and neither is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Art is a form of expression through a creative skill, so I think that means a lot of what we do not consider art actually is. Advertisements, some Twitch streaming, MrBeast videos, these I consider to be all works of art, but I think they are not often criticized and discussed as such because we do not view them as valuable, which for the most part I agree with. So are gaming YouTube videos art? I open this question not just to the 1000 Players video, which is focused on telling a story, but also to more traditional gaming videos. Is PewDiePie playing Amnesia a work of art? The game itself is obviously art, but his performance of reacting to the work and editing of that performance transforms the original work into something new. He is playing a persona of himself, performing to the camera, which I would count as artistic expression. The videos are edited in such a way that highlight his reactions to the work, recontextualizing it. The video creates an experience in the viewer. For a much younger me, that was laughter and brief jolts of fear. So by my definition, PewDiePie playing Amnesia is art. I don't find this sort of video valuable now. I'm not sure if I did when I was younger. It didn't do much more than just hold my attention, which I do not view as a particularly valuable experience for art. But nowadays, I do still watch videos with similar content, and I would argue that these sorts of videos do have value as works of art. Maybe not as much value as pretty much any film or television show, but some value nonetheless. 1000 Players Simulate Civilization Rich and Poor surprised me so much because it provided an experience that I usually do not get when watching these sorts of videos. Because of its creative elements, its editing, the performances, the camera work, and the soundtrack, it made me engage with the story and characters, and even, in moments, brought an emotional response. I walked away from this feeling like I had a valuable experience, one not on par with YouTube videos, but of films, except its content and presentation was still that of a YouTube video. and I think a video like this is deserving of criticism and discussion. 1000 Players Simulate Civilization Rich and Poor is a Minecraft YouTube video where 1000 players on hardcore mode are split between two islands, one with tons of resources and the other a barren desert. The players simulate civilization by starting their own countries, forming allegiances, and going to war. Ish, the creator of the video, sets parameters for what they are and aren't allowed to do, but from there he is hands off and allows the players to create their own stories. Ish records the events of the simulation over a couple of days, recreates some footage when necessary, and crafts a narrative from the thousands of threads the players have created. Being set in Minecraft, the simulation isn't really a simulation. Really, it is just roleplay, with the basis of the roleplay being the broad idea of civilization. For some, that means starting a democracy. Some form dictatorships, some become pirates, and others try to build paradises away from foreseeable conflict. The first part of the video doesn't have central characters. Instead, it follows the broader formation of nations. Then, it introduces us to the nation's leaders, and the forming relationships and problems between nations. The editing is kinetic, constantly moving between nation to nation. Some clearly get left behind, but overall it manages a vast network of stories pretty well. The main narrative of the video is really introduced on day 3, when a player assassinates several nation leaders and frames it on an innocent man. The assassin and the innocent player become the two main characters of the story. The story between them is tense and fun, and it is all more engaging when you know that the video is not scripted, so their deaths could occur at any time. Tensions rise between kingdoms. There's several trials, a gladiator fight, and even more political assassinations. Ish frames all these stories over a broad narrative that culminates in a massive war on a floating castle that the players built over a volcano. The two final battles are the highlight of the film for me. The first one, being between several nations, features hundreds of players fighting against each other. What is happening is chaotic, but Ish is able to frame and edit the battle in a way that is incredibly tense and entertaining. After that is the final duel between the two main characters, the culmination of the main storyline. And although it is rudimentary because it is Minecraft, Ish shoots and edits the fight in a way that is understandable and builds tension. Ish's shaping of the story through editing is genuinely impressive for the sheer quantity of events that happen over the simulation. Because this is roleplay, the performances of the characters range from great to not really trying, but Ish is able to make even the worst performer into a fun character. The soundtrack was a standout for me. The music is integrated so well into the story, and does a lot of the heavy lifting of setting up tone and emotions. Mixed with the editing, there are several sequences that made me lean forward in my chair in anticipation, and a sequence at the end that threatened to bring tears to my eyes. Ish crafts a work that is incredibly fun and engaging, and he does this through his skills as an editor and storyteller. The simulation is mass storytelling in a digital space, and Ish is a digital documentarian who uses digital cameras within that space to capture the story that the 1000 players are all creating. What Ish is documenting isn't a simulation of civilization that reveals something about human nature. He is documenting a mass creative project where people get together to have fun. The simulation is just a space for this mass social creativity, and that's what I find kind of beautiful about this film. It captures the fun of video games and digital spaces by not being about them, but by existing within them. Ish captures people in play and presents them as such, as people who are creative, social, and funny. It invites the viewers to play along, to invest in these stories like the players have. It created an experience that reminded me of why I like Minecraft and other gaming videos, because they are about creativity. It gave me an experience that, funnily enough, reminded me of what film and art is, creative expression. The simulation is creativity for creativity's sake, and the video is the encapsulation of that creativity as an experience. I think that is partially what I find so interesting about filmmaking in digital worlds. Nearly every person has video games at their fingertips, digital stages where they can craft their own stories, and thousands already have been making these stories for years. If you look up Minecraft film on YouTube, hundreds of results will pop up made by all kinds of people. AI bros like to talk about the democratization of filmmaking, but it already has been. It just doesn't share the aesthetic of Hollywood feature films. It has formed itself into a new identity. This new identity has, sadly, been primarily shaped by YouTube's algorithm, but there is still interesting art being made on the platform. Like, for instance, 1000 Players Simulate Civilization Rich and Poor. So if YouTube videos are a new form of filmmaking, should we compare them and criticize them alongside cinema? I would argue no. I think while the distinction between cinema and YouTube videos is a somewhat arbitrary line, it is one that still serves a purpose. It's the reason we don't discuss comic books and novels in the same breath usually. At the end of the day, they are incredibly similar, but they are different in aesthetic, format, and usual goals. The obvious worry here is that if we start to criticize and discuss YouTube videos on the same wavelength as we do other forms of art, we could diminish the value of criticism itself. I would argue it could do the opposite. I think if we start more openly talking about YouTube videos like they are art over content, then there could be a change in why people make videos. Instead of trying to appease an algorithm by using buzzwords and making flashy but shallow videos, there could be a refocus on making videos audiences deem good or valuable. This already happens somewhat in video essay circles, because that audience has certain expectations of quality from the creators. I personally have been making an effort to watch less YouTube, as I'd often stay up late watching it when I could be reading or watching television. I cannot deny that YouTube, in general, provides works that I find very little value in. I think YouTube as a platform diminishes the work that can be created on it. At-home filmmaking like sketch comedy, short films, and feature-length films in the real or digital world are more popular than ever, but what YouTube rewards is attention-grabbing slop. I think we should discuss YouTube videos as works of art, because then we can open them up to discussion and criticism. Discussion brings value and changes the way we view works. If we start valuing our time more and pay attention to what we value in art, then we can still create space for videos like 1000 Players Simulate Civilization. But we can also help grow and cultivate this newer type of art that has grown from YouTube and online filmmaking.